Alrighty, we are going to call me a big dummy because I was complaining about the beta software not working properly and realized that I never actually instantiated the beta software. There is a thing where you have to tell it to go into the beta software mode. So we are going to try again here. Oh yeah, there we go. Now I'm seeing the actual proper visualizations and stuff. I need to go to the other Lowe's on the other side of town, because this one of course did not have the one item that I needed for it. But okay, now I was like everything looks the same, and I was like, oh, because I forgot to tell it to initiate the beta software. So there's definitely the beta software thing. You go into the driver part and you tell it to allow the beta software to run, and then you tell it to do the expanded visualization, and that's the two things. So you can see now it's actually saying that it's okay with doing the autopilot, but I'm going to put us into a position where we're in a little better shape. I don't want to start this out quite in such an insane way, so we're going to do this. I can't even believe that I didn't have the beta running and I was all confused. So this is very cool. I was like, wow, this is super disappointing. It's exactly like the old version, and I was like, oh. So I'm going to cut that part of the video. You don't even need to see that. We'll just we'll assume that I knew what the hell I was doing the whole time and didn't make a mistake. But anyway, like I said, as soon as I get this thing rolling and on the road, I'm not going to initiate this thing for the first time ever, like in a parking lot, and try to make it get out here. So mostly for my sake, I don't think the beta is going to have a problem with that, but when I get to perhaps a red light up here, yeah. All right. Oh wow, that looks so cool. I gotta say, that is really badass looking. So, all right. Oh gosh, here we go. So we are now in full self-driving. It did not expand it. I thought it was gonna push out the visualization further, but I guess it didn't. Anyway, we'll see. It's got to get over to the right to be able to make this, oh wow, much more aggressive about the braking. Let me let's see what we got. Yeah, we're gonna leave it with a nice big cushion today. So wow, certainly a lot more aggressive. Oh, now it decides it wants to turn. Okay, that's interesting. Could have done that while we're moving, but of course now it's like decided while we're stopped that it's going to go ahead and turn. Wow, this is crazy. Oh, that guy's letting us do it, so let's see what it does. Let's see if it actually makes the turn over. Come on, dude. This will be a first. Oh yeah, it has never been able to do that on, you know, regular city roads before, so that's pretty cool. The Ford behind me didn't look super happy about how weird. Oh wow, it's much more aggressive than it used to be in terms of like it really kind of launches forward. So it should hopefully take the right here. Okay. And we got a little bit of a roundabout, and then we're going to get on the highway. And the highway, I believe, is just the old full self-driving stack, so I'm not going to... Wow, this thing is really... Yeah, okay. It's a lot more aggressive. I can definitely feel it. So anyway, like I said, I think what I'll do is... I guess I didn't say that before, but what I'll probably do is skip over the part on the highway and go till when I get back off the highway again, because it'll probably be boring. Unless something interesting happens on the highway, I will let you know. But otherwise, I'm just going to let it go. Wow, it is... so much more confident than it used to be. All right, switch lanes. Of course, it's still a little bit late getting into this merge lane, but oh, okay, cool. All right, it did it. And now, okay, now we're on the highway. We're only going 55 because the guy in front of us is going really, really slow. So I'll be curious to see what it does about. Okay. All right, let's see how it handles this lane change. Yeah, it seems like it was more or less the same, but it felt just a teeny bit more aggressive, but that just might be me at this point. All right, I'm going to force this to drive a little more interesting city traffic. Otherwise, it was mostly going, oh, look at that. As soon as we got off the road, it went back to, well, it was thinking about it at least. There we go. Okay, so now that it's gone, all right, let's go ahead and engage this. So, yeah, it was going to take mostly the highway and then just one road, but this way it's going to have to make a whole bunch of turns, so this should be more interesting. All right, so now we've got a yield on red, and holy crap, that was pretty wild. Holy mackerel. That thing was like, nope, I'm going for it. We got it. So, okay, it's not, I didn't have to tell it to go through the light, which I've always had to do in the old version, so that was cool. Visualization's awesome. I thought I told it to expand the visualization. I'll have to check when I park, but anyway, it would be cool to see this even bigger because, yeah, it's just really pretty awesome looking. All right, so it's going through lights. It seems to be handling this in just a short amount of time. It better go over to the left lane. Yep, there it goes. Okay, so it's going into the left lane. Wow, it's handling the turns like the highway ones when it makes the lane changes on the old stack. Like I just was doing that a minute ago because I was on the highway. It is amazingly different. This is so much more human-like. So I'm expecting it'll probably just, yep, it's immediately. So you see it's getting right into the, as soon as the little dotted lines appear, it's going right in. It's not doing the old thing. This is going to be interesting to see what happens. It's got plenty of room here. This is a semi-unprotected left turn. All right, you're going to have to go for it, buddy. I guess not. There's nobody behind me, fortunately, so I'm just going to let it do its thing, and we'll see how long it takes. I would definitely have gone there. That was very kind of sadly lame, but as soon as this car passes, it better go. Okay. All right, let me give it a little bit of gas and see if it, nope. All right, I may have to take over. Okay, I did have to give it gas there, but now it's completing. Oh gosh, okay. That was not fantastic. That was like definitely suboptimal, but it made it. I did have to give it a little bit of acceleration at the beginning of that to tell it to go ahead and go. On a regular day, this is a Sunday morning, that was no traffic. That usually is just backed up and there's people coming the other way. So that was completely unacceptable. Actually, I will go ahead and submit that as a problem because that was definitely not a good left turn. It should have handled that. Wow, this is it's really interesting. You can see it's hugging the yellow, the double yellows here. So I'll be interested to see what happens. Yeah, it feels way too far left for me. I would be going much further right. But there's a car coming. Let's see if it kind of gives it a little bit more. It's still hugging that yellow pretty close. All right, and it's also going really fast. I don't know what's going to happen when it gets up here because it's going to have to slow down and make a right-hand turn. So, okay. Woo. All right, let's see if it can handle this right-hand turn. Crazy. Oh my gosh, and now it's braking like super aggressively. Yeah, it definitely does not feel completely ready yet. So now we've got a blind right-hand turn because we've got this car, of course. Let's see if it creeps a little bit. Kind of, oh yeah, oh, okay, so it crept, and just about the time I could see the cars coming from the left, it could see the cars. This is beautiful. This visualization is amazing. Come on, handle it. Oh gosh. Yeah, the steering wheel is pretty jerky. It's like kind of doing this as it goes. But I mean, it handled that. It handled a fairly blind right-hand turn because of the truck that was beside us. And let's see, it's got to get over to the left lane. I would be getting over now. Curious to see when it will decide to do this. It's got to do it pretty quick here. Also, this is I may have to take over here if the light turns yellow because this is a camera light place and I get a ticket if I get through the yellow, but fortunately it stayed green. Wow. All right. Woohoo! That's crazy. Yeah, it feels really wild to let this thing drive on the city. Oh, wow. I didn't even expect that. It was just like, nope, we're going in the left lane. I think what it thought was there was a bunch of traffic up ahead of us, and I think it thought it was getting into the faster lane. That was absolutely a move that I would have made myself, so that was really cool. It was very human, kind of just aggressive, like let's go across the lane and try to get into a better lane. The old version of autopilot very much felt like a computer. It was very patient. It would just like stay in the lane. This one much more aggressive and much more human. It was like, if I can get into a lane that's going to be a little bit faster, I'm going there. At least, you know, from the evidence I've seen thus far. We'll have to see how it goes with future stuff, but wow, that was really cool. All right, here we go. So we have, you can see the lows up here is like right there. So it's pretty much just a straight shot on this, but it's going to have to go through a light and then go into a left lane and turn into a parking lot. And I'll be curious to see how far it gets before it bails out. So it's going right through these lights now. Like the old version of the city driving thing was like, it would always slow down at the lights. This is really cool. Just that alone, I promise you, just that feature alone would be amazing. Let's see what happens if I do this for a second, if it's going to complain about, or let's see if I block the camera. I'm blocking the upper camera. It doesn't seem to care about that. Okay. I thought it was using the vision thing, and I thought if you blocked it, it would not be happy, but it's doing okay with my sunglasses. It doesn't seem to care about that. When I get out of traffic, there's quite a bit of traffic around me right now, so I'm going to not be, okay, just had to pay attention. Okay. anyway, when I get out of traffic, I'll try like faking looking down so that so it thinks that I'm not paying attention. Also, I believe this is a left turn lane only, so I'm going to be curious to see what this does because it needs to get out of this. It actually, all right, this was too late. Oh, interesting. Okay, now what's going to happen? So we're stuck in a left turn lane now. I'm very curious to see what the navigation does. It's the navigation has gone gray, so I think it's not going to be happy. Now it thinks it needs to turn. If it gets too much traffic, I will, well, let's go ahead and submit that. Because actually that was a problem. It should have gotten over before the white line because it got to solid white, and I think it decided it couldn't make that turn. But this is the parking lot here, and so it can make a left and then a right, but I'm not positive that it's going to do that because it doesn't have its left turn signal on. There's a lot of traffic, so I'm going to try to give it an indication and see if maybe, I was hoping what it would do is it would turn green there, but it's still definitely gray. Hopefully it will follow this Solara in front of it. If not, I'm going to have to disengage it and tell it to go left, just not to be rude. If there was less traffic on the road, I would go ahead and let it do its thing and see what happened, but I'm not going to be rude to all the drivers around me, so we'll see when it turns green here in just a second. So what we going to do, buddy? Okay, I'm disengaging because it would be very rude to the people behind me not to go ahead and go. So, oh well, at the very end, yeah, that was a definite fail because what happened was it didn't get over soon enough, and then it didn't realize that it could reroute. So it is actually seeing this as a routing option now, but it just didn't see that at the light. So again, as a human being, if I failed that thing, I would have just gone ahead and made the left turn like I just did. So, all right, we'll cut away. I got to go buy a down rod. Had to go to the other Lowe's. The other one had not the right color. So anyway, I'm over here. I'm just going to find a nice far away parking spot. As I've talked about recently, I tend to park this car like really far away from everybody else to try to keep it from getting dinged. All right, engage autopilot right with the car coming. Alrighty. So supposedly 10.3.1 is out now. I have not seen it. Also, apologies for how I look. It's in the morning and I'm going to the gym. So there we go. So I don't take a shower before I go to the gym. That's kind of senseless. So anyway, looking like I look. Yeah, so anyway, that was quite the interesting events happened yesterday around version 10.3 rollout. So supposedly 10.3.1 is out, but I have checked it a couple of times and haven't seen any indication that that is actually out for me yet, but I expect it'll roll out sometime during the day. But in the meantime, 10.3 actually did start working after I turned off Sentry mode, after I turned off standby mode, and after I restarted it. I went to the security settings and did power off. And what you have to do, just FYI, is you have to turn it off and you have to sit still for like at least 3 minutes, and you have to wait for it to recycle or something. I don't know. And then you can open the door, step on the brakes, and turn it back on again. A quick FYI, as I'm driving through here, I am totally responsible for this car. I've got one hand on the steering wheel at all times, or one or the other. But the car is driving itself. This green line indicates that it knows what it's doing. And if it turns gray, which it's doing right there, you can see at the end of it, it's turning gray. So I'm going to piss off the people behind me because this thing is really good. It stops like way back at the stop sign instead of where it's supposed to go. This poor guy behind me is probably like, what the hell? I really do need to get a student driver thing. Oh my goodness. Oh, I think I just made that guy slow down. Yeah, I did. I don't know what the hell the car thought it was doing with that. It should not have pulled out in that situation. That was incredibly rude. But such is life. It also thinks it's only a 25 here, so I better turn up the speed a bit. So that was, maybe that's the problem. And actually, let me submit that as an error, because since it doesn't know the speed limit, I think what it's doing is it's assuming that the person who's driving is going 25 instead of going 50, and it should really know that this whole stretch is 50. Now, it did figure that out once we passed the 50-mile-an-hour speed limit sign, but it needs to have more general GPS knowledge. I've noticed that a lot. The car is so sign-based that if you turn out on a road that doesn't have a speed limit sign, it will make wrong assumptions about what the speed limit is, and it needs to have some sort of memory about that. Certainly, you know, maybe not the first time like a human being, like the first time I drive on a road. If I turn out into it, I might not know what the speed limit is, but that's my neighborhood. I drive it every single day. I know exactly what the speed limit is. The car should at least have the basic memory, and actually it has access to all of this GPS data, so it should actually know exactly how fast it can be going on these roads. So it shouldn't depend solely on the visual signs, because those are not always there at a time that would help the car out. So again, you know, if you think about the number of times that you pull out and make a turn onto a road, you need to know what the speed limit is already before you even have a speed limit sign. So what a beautiful day. Wow. Really, really big towering clouds out there. It's pretty crazy. It is 19 out. It is almost November. It's what, the 25th? I think it's the 25th of October. Yep, 25th of October, and we still have really, really warm weather. So a little bit scary. It's climate change time. Anyway, so this is not an unprotected left. There is actually a turn signal up here. So it looks like my robot vacuum and mop have not been behaving well. Speaking of software that feels like it's incomplete, that would be another one. Anyway, so this one, there's a protected left here, so this should not be a problem. I do like the fact that this car gets into the left lane. I haven't had a chance to examine this yet, but it appears to be that the car actually tries to select a lane that's less busy than the other one, which is very cool, because that's exactly what I do as a human being, right? So if I see that one lane has like 3 cars in it and the other one has no cars in it, then, and here we go, okay, got to apply slight force. I did take my hands off the steering wheel while we were sitting at the light, but have to put it back on. Okay, that was a little jerky. I don't know if you can see the steering wheel kind of like rocking a little bit, but it's not perfect by any means, but it's adequate, and it seems to manage it. So it's also kind of doing the accelerate, decelerate, accelerate, decelerate. It's kind of backing off and going forward. So I'm not exactly sure. It always slows down at, okay. I don't know why it slows down at that particular light. That's actually another error. Whoops. Submit that. Yeah, I don't know why that particular light it always slows down at, even though there's zero reason for it to do so. There is a reduction in the speed limit, I think, from maybe, yeah, it probably didn't know until we passed the speed limit sign it was 45, but you can see it was slowing down well past that. And yesterday I let it go all the way until it basically almost stopped, because there's no, again, same thing, I don't know, oh, it's trying to go to work. Okay, sorry. I just realized that I am navigating to the wrong place. Anytime Fitness. Sorry about that. Got in the car and didn't even think about the fact that, okay. I'm not exactly sure what it is doing here. I guess I went back to TACC. Okay, not its fault. Okay, now we're navigating to the proper place. Okay, I'm not exactly sure why it's trying to get into this lane. That is, oh, all right, well, here we go. That's more evidence, right? There was a lot more traffic, but the problem is, under these circumstances, I think it would probably have been a better idea. It's gonna have to get over really fast after this light, and I'm a little bit worried about that, so we'll see how it does. I'm not sure it's going to manage the turn, because you can see up here it's got to get immediately left after this light, but it's a pretty aggressive drive, and if I trusted it to, actually what it should do is get over right now. Oh, it is. Oh my goodness, look at that. Okay, I gotta give you big kudos, Tesla. That was a cool move. There was a guy who, you know, left a little bit of a gap, and this thing just took it and went right in, no hesitation. That was really cool. That was exactly what I would have done as a human being. That was very, very good. And now hopefully it will make this turn, and we're gonna have to make an unprotected left over here. Ooh, slow down, buddy. Wow, jeez, that is aggressive. My goodness. Whew. Okay. Yeah, that was really aggressive. So we got to make an unprotected left into a parking lot with limited visibility. I don't know if the GoPro is going to show this, but if you look down there, you can see that you really can't see that far away, and it's 45, so people are doing about 55 miles an hour, generally speaking. So let's see how this thing does. It should actually go ahead and take it. Oh, nice. I mean, seriously. That's good stuff. Now, I don't know how long this autopilot's going to last here, because we're in a parking lot, so I'm going to go ahead and disengage it just because we're almost there. As you can see, Anytime Fitness. So, wow, there were a couple of really nice moves there on that drive. I know it was relatively short, but wow, that was impressive. Yeah, that was incredibly human, and like I'm blown away by that. So really nice job. Okay, yesterday we had some funky experiences, but there was a couple of really good drives there. So good job. I'm gonna be back. I'll drive back home again after this, and I'll see you on the flip side. All right, nice pretty background. I got a horse farm over there. So yeah, my thoughts about all of this. Gosh, there is a lot to say. The software drives really, really well when it's driving well. It fails in kind of horrifying ways when it fails. We almost drove into a median at one point. It's made bad decisions about turns and then attempted to correct that at the last second, which was dangerous around cars. And in other words, this is incredibly beta software. So number one, I have to give kudos to Andre Karpathy and the AI team, because it's really incredible what they have done. It's pretty, like, I don't even know what to say. It's incredible to think that it's able to handle such complicated traffic. But number two, this is absolutely beta software still. There is no doubt about that. It is, you can see it making decisions. It will often wiggle the wheel back and forth. In fact, it's actually what kind of autopilot stuff was like on the highways a few years ago. So it would, where on the highway, it would kind of jiggle the wheel back and forth and it would try to lane center and stuff. So it's working at a much, much higher level, but you can see that it's still like the decision-making process in the neural networks is far from perfect. And when it gets onto the highway and it goes to the old stack and you see the visuals change, it behaves much more, I guess consistently is the best way to put it. It's not perfect, but it's a much more polished piece of software. So I think, even though I was sort of like, please give me the software ever since, I don't know, was it January of last year when the new, I think it was actually December. So it's been about 10 months since the original beta 8 point something software came out, and I've been like, please give it to me, please give it to me. And it would have been fine, I mean, as a beta tester, but it's a really, really good thing that Tesla has been so adamant about making sure that they're only giving this software to the best drivers and people that have proved that they can drive safely and are being very aware. Because I guarantee you, those people who do that thing where they get in the back seat and let the car drive, this car would have crashed multiple times in the 24 hours ish that I've had it. So it's definitely not ready for a wide open public release and letting everybody have it. So it definitely needs work still. I can see where it's going. I think part of the problem, of course, is that they've gone from a radar/vision stack. There's a lot of issues that it's having in terms of, I can tell with, it's really good about seeing the cars, and it's very cool that it sees the brakes and that it understands what cars are doing ahead of it. But it also seems to have some issues in terms of judging distances. There's been some weird collision warnings. Now, I know a lot of that had to do with the very, very problematic 10.3 rollout. By the way, I'm still using 10.3 on this. If you don't know, what happened was they released 10.3 and it was kind of broken. And so then I put it into, I corrected this, and it apparently made it work for me, and it's working okay. But there's a 10.3 rollout that's supposed to be coming out, but it hasn't. I just checked a minute ago and it hasn't come out for me yet. But hopefully that will smooth out a couple of the rough edges. But I don't think that has to do with the way it's driving in general. It just had to do with the fact that it was kind of failing to be able to be put into play, right? So that, I think, is the problem with it, not the fact of how it's driving. And then I kind of just want to give a final thought as somebody who works on this sort of thing and, actually does research into neural networks and everything. And what I'm seeing with this is that these neural networks have been trained, they've been trained on a ton of data, and that there's a lot of cases where it understands how to work. And there were cases on the way to the gym this morning where it behaved like mind-blowingly humanly. I was like, wow, I can't believe this thing is working. But with all of that taken into account, you can also see how the training hasn't generalized enough yet. I know that, I don't think that there has been, well, I don't know this, but I don't think that there have been any beta driving, people around Athens. I think I'm the first one. And so I see a lot of places where it's kind of confused what's going on. A really big thing that is a big problem that Tesla needs to fix immediately is it needs to use GPS data for the speed limits for streets when it doesn't have the speed limit sign. Because this entire neighborhood, I don't think there's a speed limit sign in this entire neighborhood, but it's 25 the whole way. And when I get off the road and it says 50 and it doesn't slow it down to 25, that is really bad. So it needs to take account of the actual expected speed limit if it doesn't know what it is. And that's a big problem, and that needs to be dealt with. And that's not really a neural network thing. That's just something that they need to deal with. They need to add that onto the stack so that it understands what speed limits are if the signs are not apparent immediately. So that would be a big thing. As far as neural networks are concerned, it's obvious that they just need a lot more data and more training. And I think that they will get there. They're going to have the training, but it's also obvious that it hasn't happened yet. And even with billions of miles, they still need a whole lot more data. So I think that what they've got is the right solution. It looks like it's heading the right direction, but there's still an awful lot more refinement that needs to happen. L4 driving, which is, not having to touch the wheels at all, at least a year away. That would be optimistic if it got there. And maybe they'll increase faster. Maybe version 11 will be a huge step change. But looking at 8 to 9 to 10 and what other people have had, and now my experience, I would say that they're at least a year away from it being as polished as the on the highway version, the old stack. It'll be really interesting to see what happens with the new stack on the highway. I'll be very curious to see what it does, if it goes backwards or not. Anyway, well, we'll have to see. Version 11 is supposed to have that coming out. Anyway, that was my initial thoughts. It has been really interesting driving this. I kind of wish I'd had it for the last 10 months. It would have been really cool to watch this all happen. But in some ways, I'm kind of mind blown about it. But in other ways, I'm less impressed than I thought I would have been. And that's kind of part and parcel of beta software. That's what happens. And as Elon Musk said, this is beta software and you should expect that. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Thank you all so much for watching. I know it's a little bit loose. I'll try to create something a little more consistent in the future and come up with some test scenarios. I do have those, but in the meantime, these are first impressions and thoughts as somebody who actually does research in this area and thinking about what's going on under the hood in the car. I hope this is useful, and please do like the video so other people can find it. And if you want to see more of these videos, definitely subscribe so you can see more of them. In the meantime, I will talk to you all later. Thanks. Bye-bye.